issues here. Most of the time, most hearings, we talk sort of at a level a little higher and more general, then it might be good to help all of us to get a better understanding of, first of all, what exactly are these collaborations, these partnerships like? Is there a typical form these partnerships take? Does it depend on specific nature? Does the specific nature depend on the situation, the objective? And we're also talking about at different points, I know, of say research. We're talking about basic research or something where it's getting more applied. So I think it might be helpful just to talk. Let me start with Dr. Graziano. Can you give some examples of how these partnerships come together and what exactly these partnerships do? Because I can imagine them, and I think that there are a lot of different types. But can you give some examples and how
Sure.
they come about?
Yeah, there's a lot of types, and clear and foremost is our goal is to really help develop talent. But some examples of how they come about, and we put a lot of effort into understanding the capabilities at our university partners and the directions they want to go in, and understanding within our businesses what the priorities are for some of the real high-risk areas, and trying to match those up so that we can see a good alignment for a partnership. The way they come about at that point is myself or somebody in our organization will make those connections to the university, say, hey, we'd like to talk about this area, let's get together, and it just starts just like you want to just sit down and talk and see how things align and what you can do with each other.
Do you look at what is being done already at the university, or do you choose the university first and then start talking about how does that come about?
We pretty much look at what's being done at the university or what the really strong, really bright minds are doing there and see if those capabilities align with what we're doing. So they don't necessarily have something that's all developed and then we go in and say, hey, you already have this, here's a fee for service. But look, we got some really bright stuff going on in general in this area of optoelectronics. Let's talk about whether or not you can help us now come up with new lighting technologies for displays. And so we look at that general strength that they have and then try to shape something together. In some cases, we try to leverage what's already being federally funded, the EFRCs, which are out there. In the case of solar, we engaged Caltech, University of Illinois, and UC Berkeley, who are all leading up one of the Energy Frontier Research Centers, and said, hey, we see a way that we can engage with that. There's already stuff that's going on. You got some great work going. Now let's see, how can we start to take that fundamental research and build it out so that we can actually think about applying it commercially down the road. And it's not just a matter of dumping it in. There's still many risks and challenges that have to be achieved to get that fundamental research and bring it to commercialization.
Are there other sort of types that anyone else wants to mention, types of partnerships, besides what Dr. Graziano was
We would have a number of partnerships. They can involve service agreements where you're looking for an answer very quickly. They can involve consulting arrangements and memberships in consortiums. And so quite often universities will have specializations, sometimes very niche-related consortiums, and you can begin those relationships. And those are excellent ways to begin learning what the capabilities are across universities and industry.
Anyone else? I want to ask, what is the role then, and Dr. Graziano talked about the EFRC, how much of this would be going on? I mean, where do you see the importance of the role of federal funding in all of this? And what if federal funding were lessened or disappeared? How much of this work that you are doing, your partnerships, your collaborations with universities, how much would it take the place of any of that, or could it to any extent? Or is it really the fact that if this research, federally funded research, wasn't going on, we wouldn't have these opportunities that you have to make these partnerships? What's your opinion on whoever wants to jump in?
Well, at the risk of go ahead.
Mr. Green?
No, I mean, I think sometimes we miss the forest for the trees here. I mean, what we're talking about is the opportunity to create a new economy, right? And what we're talking about is the opportunity to have business closely engaged so that there's a good economic value in this research. And I think, frankly, we need to double down on the things we do federally funded, but we also need to industrialize the process of business working with our universities in a consistent, predictable way, because that's what's going to generate the economic renaissance. Because we're really, what we've talked a lot about today is about the how you get there, but what we're solving for, right, are high-skilled jobs, rising standards of living, and economic vibrance. And that's the trapped assets that we have in the universities that we need to exploit from the federal government and from industry.
Does the federal government have a role in helping to increase those?
One of the things you mentioned, you mentioned tax and so forth, but you also mentioned convening and collaborating. I think the federal government has a profound role and, in fact, obligation, and it's a missed opportunity not to try to take all these little point solutions, which are all good, but industrialize it as a state of mind for how the U.S. is going to regenerate economic activity with a bias towards innovation and differentiation.
Thank you. And I'm way over time. I just want to say appreciate and congratulate Ms. Garton and Georgia Tech for the I-Core node. And I think that's another important way among many to promote entrepreneurism. And I will yield back.